Ask Reddit. NSFW, people who work in the adult film industry, what is the weirdest, creepiest, nastiest thing you've seen or experienced while working? I knew a girl who worked a intercourse hotline in Halifax, NS, and she said this old guy would call in regularly to talk dirty, specifically with his Alan Rickman impression. Not in the film industry, but I do run a kink club. Nothing excessively weird happens that I will witness on my way around, but the utter smell of people in the orgy rooms. I cannot stress how bad the smell is. Imagine the smell of sweaty ballsack X100. It definitely gets overwhelming if you get hit by it. Edit, alcohol disinfectant plus baby wipes plus disposable towels, not primarily baby wipes. The creepiest thing is seeing how high out of their mind some of these girls are. Some of them are so freaking high they can barely stand up straight, really makes you think about what the hell you're doing. A friend of mine used to do cam work and had a regular who would pay her upwards of $600 a session to 1. Tie her hair up in pigtails with orange ribbon, 2. Cover the room in orange balloons, 3. Wear orange lingerie, 4. Squeeze oranges over her boobs, yep, $600. My husband used to work on set of filming. One thing that horrified him was seeing how dirty, messy it'd get. So many times they'd have to stop filming to clean up poop, and since scenes would often take hours, the smell would get awful, especially during the summertime. Girls that deep throat tend to vomit a lot of the time. Dated a girl who did amateur porn and cam girl work. Weirdest thing was how much more people would pay for anything involving butt holes. Liking paying up to double what they would for regular. I knew a guy that did gay for pay. He was offered $2,000 to take it like a man, so to speak. He was kinda broke, so he went for it, but he didn't prep properly, despite being told numerous times to douche and all that. His words, "I did it, then hot brown lava came out. Please prep properly." I've told this story before here on Reddit, but here it is. After all the things I experienced working in porn, this one hit my soul the hardest. I was working for a gay fetish wrestling porn company around 2003 called Can-Am, which also owned a straight fetish wrestling porn company called Matrock. Both companies were owned by a larger distribution company called Marina Pacific, which also owned a gay porn company called Jet Set. Me and my coworker X, who ended up being one of my best friends, would help out on Jet Set productions here and there, where we met the owner Dave Kroll, like Grohl, who was this overly tanned, gray hair, Hawaiian shirt wearing slime ball, nice enough guy to us, but you knew who he was 2 seconds into meeting him. So back in the day, gay for pay was still very much a thing. Straight men were sought out to do gay porn, and we would have to pump them full of Viagra and have a TV, VCR combo with straight porn hooked to an extension cord so that when the guy gets soft in the other guy's mouth he could jack off and get hard again. Most of these guys were sexual deviants as it was, but the biggest incentive was the pay. $1,500 tops for a scene where you're the bottom, pun intended. So we're doing this scene where this kid who was a month into turning 18, and still had his braces on his teeth, gets fricked by 2 dudes. Kid does well, the dudes nut on him, all is well, except the kid comes up to me and X. He had heard from Dave that X directed straight porn for Matrock, and Dave had promised him that X could put him in a straight porn if he did gay porn. Which at the time was the biggest lie ever, because no one crossed from gay to straight porn, no matter who you were. I was an adult actor in the mid-90s. This wasn't me, but a buddy of mine. He was on a boat for a film shoot. He was also high on mushrooms. The director asked him if he would frick a midget. He didn't want to, so he told the director an absurdly high price. The director met that price. There he was, tripping balls and balls deep in a little person, and somehow, I never found out how, the boat began to sink. They ended up getting rescued by the Coast Guard. I think this may have scarred him. It did make the news, but I tried Googling it and came up with nothing. Anything before 2000 seems to be prehistory. I've done a couple cam shows before. Weirdest was a guy who took me on private while he was smoking meth, wearing nipple clamps, and jerking off. He wanted me to control how long he held his hits for, and supposedly his husband was sleeping and unaware what he was up to. I actually didn't even do or show much myself and probably made about $50 off having him there for 10 to 15 minutes. I don't work in porn, but a buddy I have used to work camera for them, and the grossest thing was specialty porn. Evidently it does not smell good when an actor that clearly hasn't showered in a while then has literal po'o mixed in. I clicked on this, can't stop reading, even though I'm really grossed out and want to stop reading. Actual mother-daughter. I had a neighbor who used to be a camera guy for an old production company. He said that when butt stuff intercourse started making its way into straight videos, nobody knew about cleaning up before a scene. Apparently one actor randomly starts screaming in the middle of a scene, removes himself from the actress, runs over to a trash can, and proceeded to pee poop. He and his coworkers affectionately referred to it as poop noodle. Edit, yay, gold. Friend of mine did a handful of adult movies. She worked for one of the bigger companies in Germany at the time, and said that immigrant porn stars and foreign Eastern European porn stars were treated like absolute dirt. And I'm talking really disgustingly bad. They always had a buffet area way off to the side because the shoots often took 10+ hours a day, and when there were no German female actresses in that shoot, the guys, often tool for hire or free tool, would jizz in on the buffet and piss on some of it as well. Sad part is, they always re-hired those guys or used them again because either cheap or free. One time, according to her, they also just beat the po'o out of a girl that refused to do butt stuff. Was doing casting and receiving pictures from the girls, and uninvited guys who came in droves. I usually dismissed them politely, told them they would be kept in file for future projects, etc. But there was one guy who wouldn't take no for an answer. Granted, he had a huge tool, but the bosses did not need any more men. For a full month he sent me a tool pic every day, and the ritual culminated with a goatsy video who I'm not entirely sure wasn't him. Disturbing, but I laughed every second. It was a fun job. I worked for a big 90s porn star in 2005, and the first time she told me to bring her to set, carry her bags and kiss her goodbye, just to show everyone a male presence. We drive to the industrial side of Eastla and she knocks and a big garage door opens, unveiling a posh red rug with a Harley and a girl bent over the Harley with a yoked out dude behind her. The director finished telling them the scene as I walked in. The girl walks toward me absent-mindedly and farts, letting out an almost orgasmic sound. The guy walks the other way and kisses his boyfriend and says, classic gay lisp, "Oh God, I don't know if I can do this po'o." Disbelief shattered, all magic lost. My dad used to work in the back of a studio and would ship the cassette tapes. One time he heard a director get mad because one of the actors got a boob job between filming and hated the inconsistent scenes. Not a worker in the AFI, not attractive enough, but I got a friend who used to be the IT guy in a porn production company. One day he got an email, blackmail, claiming that they know he's watching porn at work, and unless he pay up they'll tell his boss. His response is, I work in the porn industry. If I'm not watching porn at work, I'm not doing my job. Obligatory, not a adult film industry person, but I met one once and he was more than willing to tell me about how gross it was. I was 16 or 17, and flying out to La with my family for vacation. I got seated in the row behind my parents' siblings on the plane, and was next to a young, bro-type guy. We talked a lot during the flight, and he was telling me about how he was a stuntman for some movies and shows. I was impressed with that, and like the stupid teenager I was, I said, I'd love to do that too. He then started telling me how tough the show business is, and that he had to do a lot of poopoy jobs just to get to where he was. One of those jobs was doing the sound guy stuff in adult movies. As a sound guy, he had to get really close while staying out of the frame, of course. He told me about how bad and poopoy the smell was, how shady and fricked up most people were, lots of addicts and trashy people, both on and off camera, and how he was disgusted when bodily fluids and po'o accidentally got on him. It's also the first time I heard about fluffers. The picture he painted made me realize just how poopoy it must be to be involved in making that stuff. Lol, my parents would occasionally look over because they heard what he was saying. I could tell that my mom was outraged on the inside, but she didn't want to embarrass me by calling the guy out. Edit, a lot of people are asking what a fluffer is, so I thought I'd explain it in an edit. It's a person who works at porn shoots and has the job of keeping the male actor's tool hard in between scenes so he's always ready to go. Basically, they are human Viagra. The word fluff, as in fluff your pillow, means to manipulate it so it's ready to be slept on in that case. My time to shine. Once I saw a tapeworm come out of her butt. I know, pet out. The second time was roundworm wrapped around a dude's tool. Thanks. Now I'm thinking about it all over again. I worked in porn for about 6 years behind and then in front of the camera. The grossest thing I heard of happening was actually from my old housemate who was trying to break into the porn industry. She decided to do butt stuff to try giving herself that extra boost into the spotlight and booked herself in for an butt stuff scene with someone I'd worked with on the past. She arrived. She had prepped, she was stunning, so I had no doubt she'd do great. The big black dude put his tool in her butt, and on release she prolapsed. Q&E, lots of medical checkups and no more butt stuff for her after the surgery. She needed to have to put her butthole back inside. Real gross. Was a paramedic in the late 90s, went to this part of town that's all strip clubs, always drinks touching the girls then get fricked up for it. Anyway, we'd see all the hidden spots. The champagne room, the sticky floors are not from champagne. But most sad was the makeup room the girls get ready in. Meth pipes and needles everywhere next to pictures of their kids, piles of sweaty dollar bills, bulk packs of unlubed condoms, vomit stains around the toilets from Bulima. Many are lesbians that have to give the manager a daily blow just to work. They live a sad life. There was an instance involving diarrhea. It was not part of the show. There was corn. Anyone else heard John Ronson's The Butterfly Effect about the porn industry? There's a whole story in there about a porn star whose teenage son found her stuff online and all his friends were passing it around at school. That's a worst nightmare right there. You can check out XXX to see all the horrifying things in porn. I'm eating chicken wings at B-dubs while reading this thread, yet feel nothing. Is there something wrong with me? I've heard a story about rectal prolapse, would not want to be there for that. I was a stripper, the number of men who would come in wearing sweatpants and no underwear was astounding. The answer is always poop.